lapse from the statute of limitations. So, but on the lawfare thing, because this is important, we didn't get this at all today. What is more likely, that Donald Trump went almost 80 years of his life never once having a criminal indictment because he's a guy who...
He was president. Things changed.
Well, I mean, all of a sudden, he's never committed a felony, and then
he becomes president, and the circumstances are the same.
No, they were going after things that were long before he was president. But okay, fine. If you don't like that argument, there's one other argument. They held all of these charges until the election. It is clear manipulation.
Laura Coates didn't hold back while laying out what she considers to be the Democrats' ultimate strategy on a heated edition of Real Time, using the legal system as a weapon to discredit political rivals, most notably Donald Trump. She maintained that Trump's indictments were not an accident and that their timing was purposefully timed to coincide with the 2024 election cycle. Coates sees it as a classic example of lawfare. But Bill Maher didn't believe it. He categorically denied the charge, claiming it was a paranoid ruse to sidestep Trump's significant legal troubles. However, Coates refused to back down, posing the pertinent query: how much trust can Americans have in a legal system that appears to be more swayed by politics? The altercation brought to light a more fundamental problem. Has the legal system been used for political ends? Or is it merely a convenient storyline to support Trump? In any case, the discussion made viewers face an unsettling fact. It is becoming more difficult to distinguish between politics and justice.
All the indictments, until the election.
All of the charges except the dressing room
which they extended the statute of limitations, and then she was funded. The whole thing was a hit.
All the other ones have to do with he was in office. Right. He was the president. He asked for
a civil trial for Trump. There was a civil thing with the Trump Foundation. There are so many that it's hard to know what we're talking about.
The nature of the investigations dealt with factual allegations that surrounded his term in office and beyond. Yes, there is a reason he was never investigated for having interfered with the presidential election, because he wasn't running.
You also can't have it both ways, because when the House moves to impeach Trump on January 13th, the cry from the right is, where's the due process? Why are you moving so fast? What's the deal? But then when Merrick Garland chooses to take his time and be deliberate in bringing these indictments, Republicans say, oh, you're dragging your feet now to wait until it's election season. So which is it?
I hope you do sports betting or something, because the idea...
On the one hand, Coates' reasoning presents a valid worry. When prominent people are sued during election season, the timing alone may give the impression that the lawsuits are politically motivated. The public's confidence in the justice system's impartiality may be seriously damaged if they start to think it is being used to influence elections or target particular candidates. A legal system that is intertwined with political goals runs the risk of losing its own legitimacy, leading the public to doubt the impartiality of any significant case involving political figures. However, Maher's emphasis on accountability draws attention to a key democratic tenet. Everyone is subject to the law. The idea that justice being applied equally to all people, regardless of their position or power, is the foundation of public faith in institutions. The contrary message might be conveyed if significant accusations against influential people are ignored or postponed in order to avoid political controversy. Elites are immune. Additionally, it undermines trust in the system and contributes to the notion that some people are inherently untouchable. Coates seems to be on the defensive at this stage of the argument, finding it difficult to refute Maher's demand for equal justice. The discussion is far from done. We'll have to wait and watch how she reacts.
The idea that a number of these different cases, all of these charges involve conduct that was all of them. There's all these 4 different criminal cases, at least 4 years ago. You're going to tell me that all this had to wait until the election year to bring the charges? You're going to tell me that Jack Smith, for those who don't know, was moving at lightning speed with the help of Judge Chutkan in D.C. They were moving, ask any federal prosecutor, ask anybody who has actually looked at I'm just talking about timelines, by the way. The whole thing was meant to kneecap him before he could actually get to election day, and it was meant to destroy him for political reasons in an election year.
And yet it's only helped him.
It is the biggest own goal the Democrats have ever had in their lives.
Let's ask the federal prosecutor. One's here. One of the reasons why this was delayed, in part, was not simply a matter of proactive or affirmative motions by the prosecution, there was a defense team in multiple different jurisdictions who were filing motions to then delay and ask for delays and delay after delay. If the calendar had been such that what the prosecution alone wanted, you would have had earlier resolution, at least in the form of trial, not necessarily a conviction, but he's filed motions to defend himself, and that has also delayed the calendar.
I don't know.
Laura Coates was firmly in the hot seat on the four-person panel. Her arguments seemed to exacerbate the situation rather than defuse it. Evidently unimpressed, Buck Sexton seemed more eager than ever to get right into the fight. All eyes are on Coates as the pressure builds. Will she be able to maintain her position, or will the tide turn against her? This discussion is rapidly becoming heated. For more incisive, thought-provoking discussions, make sure to like and subscribe if you find the interaction as fascinating as we do.
Hold on. There are 4 different criminal proceedings against Donald Trump, okay? 4 of them.
Yeah.
And
And he has defended himself.
there's New York, there's D.C., there's Atlanta, there's Florida. Florida's been tossed out, by the way, so that's what a great trial, that's what a great case that was. These were
by
all
a real Trumper of it.
But you can't have it both ways. I mean, Judge Chutkan clearly hates Trump and was sending January 6th, some of them non-violent detainees
You know
into the
what?
prison system for like 18
Okay,
months.
can I ask you a more philosophical
Yeah,
question?
sure.
Because there are people who are watching this who I know people because I live in Los Angeles and Hollywood
Yeah.
and all that, and they will say, "Why are you even talking to him?" And I have no patience with people like this. They can kiss my ass. I will talk to you all day. First of all, half the country agrees with you. Are they all going to self-deport if one of the
No, and
No,
honestly,
no, and-
could I first of all,
and-
thank you for that. And I just would add to it, like,
And-
people who are saying that he's Hitler and the country's going to end, it's not true. It's going to be okay. He's already been president. If he becomes
Well-
president again, you'll probably have a Democrat who comes around in 4 years.
No,
it's not the end of the republic. Let's start placing bets.
it could
You
be.
want to start?
No,
You know what I mean?
it could
Wanna
be.
play some money on this one. I know you got a bankroll, buddy. You know, we can start. You know what I mean?
do.
I hear stories.
I do. That's my meds. Okay. No, well, first of all, he could. Absolutely. He's too erratic. There's just no way you can say he's not going to do this or not going to do that.
He's not going to destroy the country. He's going to do a great job, actually, but you don't agree with that.
What's your definition of destroying the country? Is sabotaging the peaceful transition of power the hallmark of American democracy? Is sabotaging that?
Laura Coates contends that the election process may have been impacted by the demonstrations and disturbances associated with the Black Lives Matter movement in the summer before the election. She contends that the climate of increased hostility and division may have affected voter sentiment, perhaps even intimidating some, and ultimately shaped the election's result. Buck Sexton, however, is adamantly opposed. He argues that social movements and protests may arouse public sentiment, but they do not necessarily jeopardize an election's legitimacy. The voting process must continue to be a protected institution that is impartial, strong, and impervious to the clamor of social or political unrest. According to Sexton, this conversation highlights a larger, important discussion. Can significant social gatherings erode public trust in the electoral process? And when assessing election integrity, how much should those dynamics be taken into account? The true dilemma is how to safeguard democracy from outside forces while maintaining free, secure, and transparent elections in a time of extreme political and cultural difference. Please share your opinions in the comments section and remember to like and subscribe for more enlightening conversations.